Hey everybody, it's Austin Idle here from Little Monsters Filmmaking Resource. And as filmmakers, we're always juggling like a million things at once,
Oh,
right?
tell me about it.
From like fine-tuning scripts to like battling those lighting nightmares on set. And then,
Yeah.
and somebody's like,
Evergreen.
"Oh, and don't forget to keep up that social media presence."
Yeah. Like,
Ah,
oh, yeah, sure. Like, I have time for that.
right.
But, in today's world, social media really can be a filmmaker's best friend if we use it strategically.
Absolutely. And the good news is you don't have to be like glued to your phone 24/7 to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's what we're diving into today, a strategic approach to managing social media that takes just 20 hours a week. And this is specifically designed for content creators like you.
And you know what I really like about this approach is that it really emphasizes quality over quantity. It's not about just mindlessly posting, every 5 minutes or whatever. It's about making every single hour count for maximum impact.
So let's break it down. First things first, we need to choose the right platforms. There's no need to spread ourselves thin trying to be everywhere at once.
Exactly. Focus your energy where it matters most. And our sources suggest focusing on what they call the big four for content creators, like Little Monsters, um, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and potentially LinkedIn. And each one of those offers some unique advantages for reaching filmmakers and building a strong online presence.
I've always found Instagram to be fantastic for visuals,
Mhm.
behind the scenes shots, film stills, maybe even some quick editing tricks and things like that.
Absolutely. It really caters to that visual storytelling aspect that filmmakers, naturally gravitate towards. And then you have TikTok where you can hop on trends, show off your creativity with those short, snappy videos, and even tap into a younger audience.
Oh, and who knows, maybe a Little Monsters TikTok goes viral. And then there's YouTube Shorts, which seem like it was tailor-made for those evergreen pieces of content the filmmakers will be searching for years down the line.
Exactly. Think tutorials on basic filmmaking techniques, insightful interviews with industry veterans, or even a peek behind the curtain of how Little Monsters produces its podcast episodes.
Then there's LinkedIn. Kind of seems like the odd one out here, but I found it incredibly useful for networking with other film professionals, sharing industry insights, maybe landing a collaboration on a new project. It's really a powerful tool.
Absolutely. And, it's where you can really showcase your expertise and establish Little Monsters as that thought leader in the filmmaking space.
All right, so we've got our potential platforms, but before we go full steam ahead,
Hmm.
we need to take a look at what's already working.
Absolutely. We can't just assume what will work best for Little Monsters. We need to dive into your existing analytics, see which platform is already bringing in the most engagement. That data will give you a really solid starting point for building out your 20-hour strategy.
So data is definitely our friend. So let's say we've got our platform sorted out. What's next on the agenda to conquer this social media beast?
Content creation. It can feel like a monster all on its own, but there's a really great method to tackle it effectively. And it's called batching. Trust me, it's a game changer when it comes to saving time and maintaining consistency.
Batching. Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
The idea is to plan and create a week's worth of content all at once. I know it sounds a little daunting, but think about the mental space it'll free up when you're not scrambling for content every single day.
Oh, I can already see myself stressing less. So how do we put this batching magic into practice? Walk me through it.
Okay, so you're going to dedicate about 5 hours each week to this process, and you start by brainstorming for an hour. You think about those eye-catching captions for Instagram, you come up with video ideas for TikTok, maybe some fun, quirky behind-the-scenes content that really showcases the Little Monsters personality.
I can already see it. Whiteboard covered in ideas, coffee flowing, creative energy buzzing. Just like a great pre-production meeting.
Exactly. And then you take the next 3 hours and you bring those ideas to life. Use tools like Canva to create eye-catching graphics, CapCut for, quick and stylish video editing. By the end of those 3 hours, you'll have a stockpile of content ready to roll out.
This is like meal prepping, but for social media.
It is a great analogy. And then that last hour you spend scheduling it all out, tools like Buffer or Hootsuite are lifesavers here. You literally set it and forget it. Let the platforms do their thing while you focus on what really matters, making films.
I can feel the stress melting away just thinking about how organized this is. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day chaos of filmmaking that
Mhm.
social media can really feel like an afterthought.
And that's why this approach is so brilliant. It helps you stay consistent without it taking over your life. It's all about working smarter, not harder, which is a motto I think we filmmakers know all too well.
Speaking of working smarter, How do we make sure that Little Monsters isn't just talking at people on social media, but actually talking with them,
Uh,
making it a two-way street?
Engagement is key. It's the heart and soul of building a thriving online community. And it goes way beyond just liking posts and leaving those generic comments. Social media is all about building real relationships, not just broadcasting messages into the void.
All right, spill the secrets. How do we make Little Monsters the most engaging resource for filmmakers on social media?
Our source recommends dedicating about 6 hours each week to actively engaging with your audience. And I'm not talking about just liking posts or leaving generic comments. I mean, really being present and involved in the conversation.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Spend time each day leaving thoughtful comments on posts from other filmmakers, film podcasts, production companies. You know people you admire in the industry or whose work you find interesting.
You know what, I like that.
Yeah.
It's a great way to show support for the filmmaking community and get the Little Monsters name out there in a positive way. You're not just a passive observer. You're showing up. You're participating in the conversation.
Exactly. And of course, responding to comments and DMs from your own followers is essential. It shows that you're listening, you care, that there's a real person behind the Little Monsters account.
That personal touch makes all the difference. Makes people feel heard and valued, like they're part of a community, not just another number. What about reaching out to potential collaborators? Or even those big film festivals we all dream of attending? Is that part of the engagement strategy?
Absolutely. Dedicate some time each week to networking, reach out to potential collaborators, influencers, film festivals that align with the Little Monsters brand. You already have this fantastic podcast platform, so leverage those existing connections and bring them into your social media world.
Yeah, it's all about planting those seeds for future projects, partnerships. Who knows what amazing opportunities might come from a simple DM or a thoughtful comment on a post? This is networking for the digital age.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about being salesy or pushy. It's about being genuinely interested in connecting with people, sharing your passion for filmmaking, and finding ways to collaborate. And speaking of staying relevant and staying ahead of the curve, how do we make sure that Little Monsters keeps pace with those ever-changing trends in both the film world and the social media landscape? I mean, it feels like things are changing by the minute.
It's almost like you need a crystal ball just to keep up. But thankfully, our source has some ideas on this front too. It's all about dedicating a few hours each week to what they call trend spotting,
Hmm.
and then, of course, being willing to adapt and tweak your strategy as you go.
Yeah.
You know, be like those filmmakers who can improvise on set when disaster strikes.
Absolutely. Spend an hour each week researching trends relevant to filmmakers on platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels, the whole 9 yards. See what kind of content is performing well, what formats people are experimenting with, and don't just blindly follow trends. Understand why certain trends work and how you can tailor them to the Little Monsters audience and your unique goals.
All right, so it's like scouting locations for a film, but for social media. You're looking for those perfect spots, those creative angles that will resonate with your audience and capture their attention.
Exactly. And while you're doing all that scrolling and research, pay attention to what those successful film podcasts or production companies are doing, what's working for them. Can you adapt those ideas to the Little Monsters brand?
Okay, so it's not just about mimicking trends. It's about finding inspiration from others and then putting your own unique Little Monsters spin on it. It's about standing out from the crowd, just like an unforgettable film stands out from all the rest.
Right. And remember, don't be afraid to experiment. If something's not working, ditch it and try something new. Social media is a constant evolution, and it's those who are willing to adapt and learn who will ultimately succeed.
And speaking of tools for success,
Right.
let's talk about AI. I know it sounds futuristic, but
Yeah.
this is where it gets really exciting. AI can be a total game changer for managing social media, especially when we're working with limited time. You know, all those hours we're not spending glued to our phones.
Absolutely. AI is like having a superpowered assistant in your back pocket. Our source suggests dedicating about 2 hours each week to using AI tools. And trust me, it'll make a world of difference.
Okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more about this AI magic.
Well, think about using ChatGPT or Jasper to help you brainstorm post ideas. Or even write those catchy captions that make people stop their endless scrolling. It's like having a brainstorming partner who never gets tired.
Wow, a virtual brainstorming partner. Sign me up.
What about the editing process? I always find that to be a bit of a time suck, especially when you're juggling multiple platforms and trying to create different versions of the same content.
AI can be a lifesaver there too. Tools like Adobe Express and CapCut can automate parts of the video and image editing process. It's like having a virtual editor working behind the scenes,
Hmm.
freeing up your time and energy for those creative tasks that only a human can do.
This is mind-blowing. It's like we're stepping into a sci-fi film where technology does all the tedious work for us, allowing us to focus on the artistic vision. Exactly. And it's not just about making our lives easier, it's about being strategic. It's about making the most of every minute, so we can spend less time on social media and more time on what truly matters, making incredible films.
Okay, so we've got the fancy AI tools. We're batching our content like pros. We're engaging with our audience like social butterflies. What else do we need to know to create a social media strategy that truly stands the test of time?
Evergreen content is the key. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the content that stays relevant and valuable over time. Think of it as the foundation of your social media strategy. It's about creating those pieces that will continue to attract views, engagement, and new followers even months or years down the line.
Okay, I'm getting it. It's like creating a film that becomes a classic, that
Yeah.
people keep coming back to again and again, no matter how much time has passed. Those timeless stories that never lose their power to move, inspire, and entertain.
I like it. Exactly. And with Little Monsters, you have a gold mine of evergreen content just waiting to be tapped into. Think about those tutorials on basic filmmaking techniques, those inspiring interviews with industry veterans, or even those behind-the-scenes peeks into the podcasting process. These are the pieces that will continue to attract and engage viewers long after you hit publish.
I love how this ties into our podcasting world. We've already built this incredible library of audio content, and now it's about finding creative ways to repurpose that material for social media. It's all about maximizing our efforts and making sure our content works hard for us.
Absolutely. You can take those longer YouTube videos and turn them into shorter, snappier clips for TikTok and Instagram Reels. Turn key takeaways into carousel posts on Instagram or those eye-catching graphics for Facebook.
It's like we're taking a feature film and turning it into a series of trailers, teasers, and behind-the-scenes featurettes that will keep audiences hooked and wanting more.
And the beauty of evergreen content is that it allows you to be present on social media, even when you're busy on set or editing your latest masterpiece. It's like having a team of social media assistants working 24/7 to promote Little Monsters and build that lasting community.
Okay, I'm sold on evergreen content. It's like building a legacy, one piece of timeless content at a time. But even with the most brilliant evergreen strategy in place, there's one crucial ingredient we can't forget: continuous learning, especially in the fast-paced world of social media, where it feels like a new platform pops up every day.
It's true. Social media is constantly evolving, but that's also what makes it so exciting. It's a landscape full of opportunities to learn, experiment, and connect with like-minded individuals.
So how do we ensure that Little Monsters stays ahead of the curve? Keeps that content fresh and engaging, even when the algorithm gods are being particularly fickle?
Our source suggests dedicating at least an hour each week to what they call professional development in the social media space. This could involve watching tutorials from social media experts, reading articles about new platform features, or even just observing what's working for successful creators in your niche.
I can see myself doing that. It's like I'm a social media detective, always on the lookout for clues and insights that will help Little Monsters stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. And the more you learn, the more you can adapt your strategy, keep your content fresh and engaging, and ultimately grow your audience. It's about embracing that mindset of continuous learning, of always being curious and willing to experiment, because in the world of social media, the only constant is change. Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's funny how we think about social media as like this separate beast, like it's this unwelcome chore piled on top of all the other demands of filmmaking.
Yeah, it can feel like just another item on an already overflowing to-do list.
But what if we shifted our perspective a bit? What if we started seeing social media not as this dreaded obligation, but as an extension of our filmmaking craft?
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. I like where you're going with this.
Think about it as filmmakers. We're storytellers at heart. We're visual creatures. We're passionate about connecting with audiences and sharing our vision with the world. And social media is the perfect platform to do all of that.
It's like a blank canvas where we can paint with light, sound, and motion, just like we do on set.
Exactly. Instead of seeing social media as this separate entity, we can weave it into our filmmaking process from the very beginning. We can use it to document our journey, share behind-the-scenes glimpses, and build excitement for our projects before they even hit the screen.
It's like inviting people into our creative world, giving them a front row seat to all the magic that happens behind the camera. And when you think about it, Little Monsters is already doing this through your podcast.
You're right. We've built this incredible community through the podcast. And now it's about extending that sense of community onto social media.
Exactly. Share snippets of your podcast episodes. Highlight guest interviews. Create those bite-sized pieces of valuable content that'll leave people wanting more. Think of it as a sneak peek into the world of Little Monsters.
I love that idea. We could take a key takeaway from an episode and turn it into a short, engaging video for TikTok. Or maybe create a series of Instagram stories that offer a glimpse into our recording setup and how we produce each episode.
Right. Or how about creating a visually driven meet the guest post on Instagram every time you have a new filmmaker on the show? It's about repurposing what you've already created and finding creative ways to present it to a new audience.
Okay, I'm on board with this. It's not just about posting random content, it's about thinking strategically. It's about using social media to amplify your existing content and build a bridge between the audio world of your podcast and the visual world of social media.
Exactly. It's about creating a cohesive experience for your audience. Whether they're listening to your podcast, watching your videos on TikTok, or scrolling through your Instagram feed.
It's all about building that Little Monsters brand and making sure it's recognizable and engaging across all platforms.
And by consistently sharing valuable content and engaging with your audience, you're building trust, credibility, and authority in the online film community. You're establishing Little Monsters as a go-to resource for filmmakers.
Becoming a trusted voice in the often overwhelming world of filmmaking. I like the sound of that. But, well, let's be real for a second. We're filmmakers. We're already wearing a million hats. How do we actually find the time for all of this social media stuff?
It's true, filmmaking is a demanding profession, and it's easy to let social media slide down the priority list when you're facing deadlines, budget constraints, and the never-ending quest for the perfect shot. But here's the thing, social media doesn't have to be this all-consuming monster.
Okay, I'm listening.
Uh-huh.
How do we tame this beast and make it work for us, even with our crazy schedules?
It goes back to what we talked about earlier, strategy and efficiency. Remember those 20 hours we talked about? It's about making every hour count and focusing on the actions that will make a real difference for Little Monsters.
Okay, I'm all about working smarter, not harder. So how does this translate into an actual plan?
Remember batching. Dedicating a few hours each week to plan and create content in bulk can be a total game changer. It frees up your time and mental energy, so you can focus on the other million things you have to do as filmmakers.
It's like setting up a production schedule, but for social media.
Yeah.
Blocking out those specific times for filming, editing, and posting, and then sticking to that schedule as closely as possible.
That's a great way to look at it. And don't forget about the power of AI. Those tools can be real time savers when it comes to brainstorming ideas, writing captions, and even editing videos.
AI is like having a whole team of assistants working behind the scenes to keep your social media machine running smoothly. And speaking of working smarter, didn't we talk about evergreen content earlier? I'm really intrigued by the idea of creating content that continues to attract and engage viewers long after you've posted it.
Exactly. Creating content that stays relevant over time is one of the smartest strategies for busy filmmakers. It's like building a library of resources that people can access whenever they need them. Think of it as a gift that keeps on giving.
I love that analogy.
Oh.
So for Little Monsters, this could be those tutorials on basic filmmaking techniques, those inspiring interviews with industry veterans, those behind-the-scenes peeks into how you create your podcast episodes.
You got it. And the beauty of evergreen content is that you can repurpose it for different platforms. You can take a longer YouTube video and turn it into shorter clips for TikTok or Instagram Reels. You can extract key takeaways and turn them into carousel posts on Instagram or eye-catching graphics for Facebook.
I like how this ties back to the idea of working smarter, not harder. It's about maximizing your efforts and making sure that every piece of content you create has the potential to reach a wide audience and have a lasting impact.
Precisely. And by consistently sharing this valuable content and engaging with your audience, you're establishing Little Monsters as a thought leader in the film community. You're building that reputation as a go-to resource for filmmaking, knowledge, inspiration, and community.
Okay, that's the dream.
Yeah.
To be that trusted resource that filmmakers turn to for guidance, support, and a sense of camaraderie. But even with the best laid plans and the most brilliant strategies, we can't forget that the world of social media is constantly changing. New platforms pop up, algorithms shift, trends come and go. It's a wild ride.
It can definitely feel overwhelming at times. But remember that constant evolution is also what makes social media so dynamic and exciting. It's a landscape full of opportunities to learn, experiment, and connect with the global community of filmmakers.
So how do we stay ahead of the curve? How do we make sure that Little Monsters doesn't get lost in the noise? And that our content stays fresh, relevant, and engaging, even as the social media landscape shifts beneath our feet.
That's where continuous learning comes into play. Remember, we talked about dedicating at least an hour each week to professional development in the social media space.
Right. That's where we put on our social media detective hats and start digging for clues.
Exactly. It's about being curious, observant, and always willing to learn. Watch tutorials from social media experts, read articles about new platform features, and pay attention to what's working for other successful creators, especially in the filmmaking space.
So it's like we're students in a never-ending social media masterclass.
That's a great way to put it. And the more we learn, the better equipped we'll be to adapt our strategies, experiment with new ideas, and make sure that Little Monsters continues to thrive in this ever-changing digital landscape.
I'm feeling inspired and energized. It's like we've uncovered a treasure map for navigating the social media jungle. But before we set off on this adventure, there's one more crucial tool we need to pack in our toolkit: analytics.
Ah, yes, analytics. It's the data-driven compass that will guide us on our social media journey.
I have to admit, analytics can feel a bit intimidating. All those numbers and charts and graphs, it's enough to make a filmmaker's head spin. But I know they're important. So how do we make sense of all that data and use it to our advantage? Turn those numbers into actionable insights that will actually help Little Monsters grow and thrive.
Think of analytics as a window into the minds of your audience. They can tell you what's working, what's not, and where you can improve your strategy. They give you the power to make data-driven decisions, which is essential in the constantly evolving world of social media.
So it's not just about posting content and hoping for the best. We actually have tools to measure our progress and see what's resonating with our audience. That's a relief.
Exactly. Think of it as a feedback loop. You put content out there, you see how people respond, and then you adjust your strategy accordingly. It's all about learning and adapting.
Okay, so where do we even begin with all this data? It can feel overwhelming just thinking about it.
Start by focusing on the key metrics that matter most for your goals. For example, if your goal is to grow your audience, you'll want to pay attention to metrics like follower growth reach and impressions.
So how many new followers are we gaining each week? How many people are actually seeing our content? As I was starting to see how this works.
Right, and if your goal is to increase engagement, you'll want to keep an eye on metrics like likes, comments, shares, and saves. These are the indicators that people are not just passively scrolling, but actually interacting with your content, finding it valuable, and wanting to share it with others.
So if we're posting a clip from our latest podcast episode, we want to see how many people are liking it, commenting on it, sharing it with their friends, or even saving it for later. It's about gauging how much our content is resonating with the filmmaking community.
Precisely.
Mhm.
And if you're trying to drive traffic to your podcast or other resources, you'll want to track website clicks or link clicks. So if you're sharing a link to your latest episode, see how many people are actually clicking on that link and heading over to listen.
Okay, I'm getting the hang of this. But it's not just about looking at those numbers in isolation, right? We need to understand what they actually mean and how they relate to our overall strategy. It's like deciphering a secret code, trying to uncover the hidden message behind those numbers.
You got it. That's where the real magic happens in the analysis. It's about asking questions like, why did this particular post perform so well? What can we learn from it? Can we replicate that success? Or, on the flip side, why did this post fall flat? Was the topic not relevant? Was the format not engaging? Was the timing off?
It's like we're social media detectives using the data to solve the mystery of what works and what doesn't.
That's a great way to think about it. And as you get more comfortable with analytics, you'll start to see patterns and trends emerge. You'll develop a deeper understanding of your audience and what kind of content they crave.
It's like we're unlocking the secrets to social media success, one data point at a time. And once we crack the code, we can use that knowledge to create even more engaging content, tailor our strategy to the specific needs of our audience, and ultimately build a thriving community of little monsters around the world.
Exactly. It's about using data to inform our decisions, refine our approach, and make sure that every piece of content we put out there has the power to connect, inspire, and make a real impact.
My head is spinning with all these incredible insights. We've covered everything from choosing the right platforms to harnessing the power of AI and analytics. I'm feeling energized and inspired.
Me too. I'm excited to see what Little Monsters will achieve in the world of social media. But hold on to that energy because we're not done yet. We still have to explore the art of crafting truly engaging content and building a thriving online community.
That's right, folks. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll unveil the secrets to creating content that captivates your audience and keeps them coming back for more. Welcome back to the deep dive, where we're arming Little Monsters Filmmaking Resource with a social media strategy that's as sharp as a well-edited scene.
We've laid the groundwork, but now comes the really fun part. Creating content that truly captivates your audience and makes them hit that follow button faster than a jump scare in a horror film.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get caught up in the technical aspects of social media, the algorithms, the analytics, the constant chase for more followers.
It's true, those things are important, but they're just tools. The heart of any successful social media strategy is the content itself.
You're absolutely right. We can have the best platforms, the fanciest AI tools, but if our content isn't engaging, it's all for nothing.
What's fascinating is that the best social media content often mirrors the qualities of great filmmaking. Think about it. Compelling storytelling, stunning visuals, an emotional connection that keeps people hooked until the very end.
It's like we're directing a mini-movie every time we create a post, a story, or a reel. And with Little Monsters, you've already got a head start. You're masters of storytelling through your podcast.
Precisely. You've got this incredible library of audio content filled with insightful interviews, behind-the-scenes stories, and practical filmmaking knowledge. The challenge now is to translate those elements into visually captivating content for social media.
Okay, challenge accepted. But where do we start? Give us the secrets to creating social media content that's as gripping as a Hitchcock thriller.
First and foremost, remember your audience. Who are you trying to reach with your content? Aspiring filmmakers, seasoned professionals, or a mix of both? What are their interests, their challenges, their aspirations? Once you have a clear picture of who you're talking to, you can tailor your content to their needs and preferences.
So for Little Monsters, that means speaking directly to the hearts and minds of those who share our passion for filmmaking. It's about creating content that informs, inspires, and empowers them on their creative journeys.
Exactly. Think about the questions they're asking. Are they struggling with writing a compelling screenplay? Are they overwhelmed by the technical aspects of filmmaking? Are they looking for inspiration and guidance from industry veterans? Your social media content should provide answers, solutions, and a sense of community.
So if someone's hitting a wall with their script, we might share a tip from a screenwriter we interviewed on the podcast, or create a short video tutorial on story structure. Or if someone's feeling lost in the world of filmmaking, we might share an inspiring story of perseverance from a director who overcame the odds to achieve their dreams.
Those are great examples. It's about being relatable, authentic, and genuinely helpful. It's about showing your audience that you understand their struggles, that you've been there, and that you're here to guide them on their path.
Sometimes we get so caught up in the technical side of filmmaking that we forget about the human element, the passion, the drive, the sheer joy of creating something from nothing.
That's so true, and that's what people connect with on social media. Real human stories, authentic experiences, and a sense of shared passion.
So how do we inject that human element into our social media content? Give us the magic formula.
It's not about a formula. It's about being yourself, letting your personality shine through, and not being afraid to show your quirks and vulnerabilities.
I like that. Let the little monsters out to play.
Exactly. And remember, social media is a visual medium, so make sure your content is visually appealing and engaging. Use high-quality images and videos, eye-catching graphics, and creative editing to make your content stand out in a crowded feed.
So it's not just about what we say, but how we say it visually. It's about creating an experience that captures the attention and sparks the imagination.
Now, let's talk about some specific content formats that work particularly well for filmmakers on social media. Short-form videos are king these days, especially on platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels.
I knew you were going to say that. Everyone's obsessed with short videos these days. But I get it. They're quick, they're catchy, and they're perfect for capturing those bite-sized moments of inspiration or entertainment.
Exactly. Think about creating short, snappy tips on filmmaking techniques, behind-the-scenes glimpses of your creative process, or even funny skits that poke fun at the filmmaking world. Don't be afraid to experiment and have some fun.
Oh, I love the idea of creating funny skits. We could do a whole series on the trials and tribulations of indie filmmaking. Those moments that make you want to laugh and cry at the same time?
That's a brilliant idea. And remember those sound bites we talked about? Those golden nuggets of wisdom or humor from your podcast episodes? Repurpose those into short, shareable video clips that will get people talking.
It's like creating mini trailers for our podcast. I can already picture those sound bites going viral and attracting a whole new audience to Little Monsters.
Now, beyond short form videos, there are other engaging content formats to explore. Carousels on Instagram are great for sharing tips, listicles, or behind the scenes photos. You could even create polls or quizzes to interact with your audience and learn more about what they're interested in.
Ooh, a quiz. We could do a "Which famous film director are you?" quiz. That would be a hit.
And don't forget about the power of live video. Platforms like Instagram Live and TikTok Live allow you to connect with your audience in real time, answer their questions, and give them a glimpse into your world.
It's like we're inviting them into our studio for a virtual hangout. We could do live Q&As, behind-the-scenes tours, or even live script readings. The possibilities are endless.
And remember, Austin, social media is all about building relationships. So don't just broadcast your message. Engage with your audience. Respond to comments. Answer questions. Participate in relevant conversations. And show that you're a real person who genuinely cares about connecting with others.
It's about fostering that sense of community, that feeling that we're all in this filmmaking journey together,
Yeah,
supporting each other, learning from each other, and maybe even collaborating on future projects.
exactly. And remember, the social media landscape is always changing. So stay curious, experiment with different content formats, analyze your results, and don't be afraid to adapt your strategy as you go.
It's a never-ending adventure, and that's what makes it so exciting. But before we wrap up our deep dive into the world of social media for filmmakers, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Go for it.
The most powerful social media strategy is one that's authentic to you. Don't try to be someone you're not or chase after every fleeting trend. Embrace your unique voice, your passions, and your vision. Let that shine through in your content, and you'll attract an audience that truly connects with who you are and what you stand for.
That's beautiful. And for Little Monsters, that means sharing your love of filmmaking, your contagious enthusiasm, and your genuine desire to help others succeed in this incredible industry. Be yourselves, be bold, be creative, and watch your social media presence flourish.
And remember, we're all little monsters in our own way, navigating the wild and wonderful world of filmmaking. So let's support each other, learn from each other, and make some movie magic together.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into social media for filmmakers.
Happy filmmaking, everyone.